Hello, my darlings. Welcome to Wonderland Session number 8. Number 8, my friends. I'm very excited that you're all here. Hello, welcome. I'm wearing silver pants today. It just felt like a good day for silver pants. You know what I mean? It was like a silver pants kind of a day. Thank you all for joining. It's lovely to see your names come on. And today we're going to be doing something different. So in addition to our usual Wonderland session where I'm going to be talking to you about a concept that I've been practicing or working on as relates to the law of attraction, and today's topic is don't take it personally. Such a good one. I'm also going to be inviting some of you on to join me live. So if you are looking sleepy or you need to brush your hair or you don't feel, camera ready, you have probably 10 or 15 minutes to get yourself sassy, because in a certain point I'm gonna ask you to hit the button to request to join me live, and I'm gonna pick a few lucky people to come on, and the screen is gonna split. You're gonna be in the bottom half here with me, and we can talk about whatever you like. This is a really exciting concept. I saw Gary Vee do this yesterday, and amazingly, he actually brought on my friend Reese from Yes Supply. She's based in Toronto, and she's an incredible entrepreneur teaching women how to really live their purpose. And he brought her on live into his session on Instagram, and she was asking him about how he prepares for talks and about his new book and his adventures, and it was awesome. And so you guys will have the opportunity to do that today. I'm really excited. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to be talking about this idea of not taking things personally. This is such a huge topic, right? Hands up, or show me via emojis if you have a habit of taking things personally. I'm going to raise my hand here. I'm going to raise my hand because I am oh so guilty of taking things personally when I don't need to, and of thinking that somebody else's bad mood is about me. Like, what did I do wrong? And then, of course, the next step is, how do I fix that? How do I fix your bad mood? If you're not happy, what can I do? And here's the thing, it's really not up to us, right? And there are things that we can do to change the vibration of the situation and make things feel different. And I'm going to tell you about those today, but it's really not our problem. And that's something that we need to learn. So years ago, I read this amazing book, and I'd love to hear if you've read it too. It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he's a Virgo, of course he is, and he was able to distill life down to 4 central concepts. I love this. Who doesn't love a 4-step program for running your entire life? And so if you have not read this book, firstly, I recommend that you pick it up. But if you haven't, I'm going to give you the cliff notes right now because it's really easy. And these are things you can remember. You can write them on your wall and then start to live your life by them and see how things change. So, number 1, I wrote them down just because, I don't want to forget it in the middle of things. We've got my file of facts as always. The first of the 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word. So, this doesn't just mean say what you mean. It doesn't just mean be honest. It doesn't just mean that we don't gossip about people, that we are clear in our communication, that we are kind with our words, that we don't offer unwanted criticism or harshness, right? Because that's what we kind of think about naturally when we look at the concept of being impeccable with our word. Being impeccable with your word is also about speaking into existence what we want and not speaking about things unwanted, right? So this is a law of attraction concept where we get really hung up sometimes on the problems in our lives that we see around us, like the evidence where things are going wrong, and it becomes something we want to talk about with everyone. You want to talk about it with your friend and your therapist and your mother and your boyfriend and your whoever. It becomes this thing where we keep perpetuating it by speaking about it, digging ourselves deeper and deeper into the problem. And this is in fact one of the reasons why last week I told my therapist, I don't really feel like I need to come here right now, because the more that I talk to you about these things that I don't like, that I want to fix, the bigger the problems seem to become, right? And therapy can be amazing, but it depends on where you are and what you're dealing with. And in my case, everything I've been able to fix or heal or change, I have been able to do it by changing my vibration and not by constantly digging into, well, how does that make you feel? And what does it remind you of? And where does that come from? And like digging this endless hole, right? When you're feeling bad and you go into a problem, it's like a bottomless pit. There's only more to find on the subject, right? So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word, and I want you to start thinking about not just, like I said, being honest, not talking shit about other people and really saying what you mean, but also making an effort and putting an emphasis on talking about the things you want, the things that you appreciate, the things that you want to create more of in your life. Okay, so that's the first agreement. The second agreement, and this is the one that we're really going to go into today, but I'm just going to run through all four so you have them. The second one is don't take anything personally. Right, so we are going to talk about this one later on. The Italian Dream said I missed the title of the book. The book is called The 4 Agreements. It's all over Amazon. It's a quick read. You will love it. Don't take anything personally. I'm going to get back into this one in a second, but I'm just going to tell you number 3 and number 4. Number 3 of the 4 agreements is don't make assumptions. We do this all day long. People say things to us, they do things, and we draw these epic conclusions about why they said it, why they did it, where it came from, who they must be on the inside, and what that means about their relationship to us and how they really feel about us and blah, blah, blah. Don't make assumptions. You don't know what's going on with them. You really don't. And maybe you never really will. So we have to be really just aware that making assumptions about what's going on with other people and why they do the things they do and everything, it's all just stories we're making up. It's really just stories that we're making up. And we also, as humans, have such a bias. We look for things to back up our existing beliefs. So, you know, if you believe that your boss is a liar and a cheat, you are going to constantly look for things within his behavior and his life that back that up. So we really, when we make assumptions, we really are digging ourselves further and further into a belief. Additionally, what is going on with other people is none of our business. It literally has nothing to do with us. So we really just need to chill out. And the 4th agreement is always do your best. And always do your best, to me, is about managing your mindset and managing your attitude and managing your vibration, which is what we've been talking about in every single Wonderland session that I've ever done. It's about managing your vibration. Doing your best means you make the effort to wake up and do your sacred morning practice. It means you make the effort to look for things that are good in your life. It means you make the effort to maintain your positive vibration no matter who's around you, no matter what's going on. You recognize that that is your responsibility and that actually it's the most important thing you can do is to maintain that vibration. It's like if you had no other goals in your day, your goal to maintain your vibration would make everything run more smoothly, make everything more pleasant, make everything more powerful, potent, juicy, beautiful. Okay, so taking things personally. What this really means is that we are giving away our power to somebody else. So let's come up with an example. Maybe the example is your partner comes home and they're in a bad mood. And instead of maintaining your vibration and staying in a good place and being playful with them or complimenting them or, doing something kind for them, rubbing their feet, rubbing their back, making them a bath, getting them some food, putting on season 4 of The Simpsons and laughing together, when you take things personally, it means they come home and whatever has happened in their day, you think it's about you and that it reflects upon you. And then you bring your vibration down to meet them where they're at. So they're angry and then you start to get angry. And what this means is that, firstly, when it comes to taking things personally, the first thing that we need to know is that we can't control other people's lives, which means that we can't solve their problems for them. So if your partner comes home and they've had a bad situation with their boss, or they have debt, or their mother is sick, or their kid doesn't like them today, or whatever, we have to realize that that's none of our business. And it's not something we can change, and it's not something we can control, right? And this can be really, really hard, especially for those of us who are sensitive, loving, maybe type A sort of personalities who love to solve problems, right? I love to show my love by being like, let's make a list. Have you done this? Have you done that? Blah, 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 blah. And if somebody asks you for those things, then you can absolutely offer your advice and your suggestions and you can get into it with them. But people don't always want our advice. And honestly, if they're in that place and we start to offer unsolicited advice to them, they're really just going to get more and more angry. So the best thing that we can do is maintain our vibration. So whether that means you go into the bathroom and you fill the tub and you just get in there and you're like in your thing, then do that, right? But really, what happens when someone comes home and they're in a bad place and we let go of our good feelings to join them in that place? What that actually means is that we care more about what they think about us than we care about feeling good. And that doesn't work. I said to you guys in one of our previous Wonderland sessions, I said to you guys that there was no issue worth sacrificing the vortex for. And that's a really strong and important thing to keep in the forefront of your mind. Once you have been in the vortex on a regular basis and you love being there and you know what it feels like to be there and you know how to get yourself there, that should then become your absolute top priority. The top priority should always be to feel as good as possible, to be in the vortex as much as possible. And we get tripped up when we think, oh, I really want them to like me right now, or I want them to think of me as this or as that or as whatever. That's when we really run into problems. That's when we start to have trouble, is when we put our own desire to be in the vortex and our own desire to feel good aside in favor of trying to please them. It doesn't work. So I was listening to some Abe this morning, and Esther was talking about a quote from Jerry, and Jerry Hicks used to teach about law of attraction and money and finance, and one of his quotes was, if you don't have goals of your own, you become part of someone else's. And I want you to keep this in mind when it comes to your interpersonal interactions. So here is the way that I have been using this concept in my own life. Whenever I go out and I go into a social situation, if I go out with my boyfriend, if I go out with a friend, if I go to a business thing or a networking thing or whatever, I set my intention before I go. So maybe I'm going to a place where there's somebody that I'm not on great terms with, or I'm going to something that like maybe I'm not that psyched about, or I'm concerned that like this thing might happen or that thing might happen and blah blah blah. So instead of going into the situation with those fears or those anxieties or having those kind of thoughts in the back of my head, I go into those situations thinking, what do I want to create? How do I want this evening to feel? What do I want the vibe to be? And I set it in my mind before I go. So sometimes I'm just thinking about how I want the evening to go as I'm walking out of my apartment and down the stairs and down the street. And every single time that I do this, every single time that I make the effort to set my intention of how I want it to feel, how I want it to go, what I want it to be like, it works without fail. Every single time I'm able to create this really positive feeling interaction or this really positive feeling evening, even though the situation or the circumstances may not be exactly what I would want or exactly how I would fantasize that they would be, I still end up having a really good time, or I end up being able to diffuse a situation that I felt was going in a certain direction or whatever. So it's really important that we have intentions when we're interacting with other people of how we want things to go, how we want them to feel. And this is a really powerful tactic, and it really does help us to not take things personally as well, because we're so strong in our own vibration of feeling good. So we firstly have decided that feeling good is the most important thing, and there's no subject that's worth sacrificing the vortex for. Secondly, our vibration is really, really strong because we've decided that's where we want to be, and so that's where we are. Thirdly, we set an intention of like, here's how I want this to go. So if my partner comes through the door and he feels this way, my intention is to XYZ. Make him laugh, or, change his state by complimenting him, or maintain my own vibration by leaving the house or leaving the room or going and doing something for myself, right? So these are things that we can do, and it's really, really important that we start to prioritize our feeling good. And one of the ways that we can do that is just by refusing to take things personally. That's it. Like, it seems like such a simple thing, this idea like don't take things personally, but it's really easy for us to do that, especially when we're really caught up in the relationship we have with a person, or we love them and we really care about them and we want to help them. But the fact of the matter is, if somebody is in a bad place, or they're not feeling like, they're not very high on the emotional scale, or they're feeling bummed out, or they're stressed, or they're anxious, or they're worried, we don't do them any favors by then crawling into the trenches with them. That doesn't work. There's no value in us going down to that place and meeting them at that vibration. The most important thing that we can do is to stay in a good vibration, and either they will come and meet us there, or they'll go somewhere else. And that's always the way that it works. So one thing that you can do if somebody's in that place and you're feeling good and they're not feeling good is you can start to compliment them and tell them about the things that you love about them. It's called shower them with, as Abe would say, positive aspects. Talk about how you love them, you believe in them, you're proud of them, or whatever. And do that instead of trying to offer solutions, because other people's problems are their problems, and ultimately they also want the pride of figuring them out for themselves. So it's really important that we can kind of learn to strike that balance of not trying to rush in on the white horse and save everybody unless they specifically ask us for help in this area or that area. So that's all I wanted to say about taking things personally today. And I also wanted to just impress upon you that I have been practicing, like I said to you, this like Abe stuff since the end of October. So we're probably November, December, January. We're like 3 months in. I've been doing this every single day. And I'm now feeling like I'm at a point where I can maintain my vibration even if someone that I'm close to is in a bad place. I'm not perfect about it. Sometimes I screw it up. Sometimes it's not ideal. Sometimes I get caught up in their stuff too. But it gets easier and easier all the time. And I'm able to navigate their mood. I'm able to not take it as personally. I'm able to like switch the conversation and laugh about it if they are reticent or annoyed or frustrated or whatever, and kind of bring the conversation back to something positive. So for example, the other night I was walking along with my boyfriend and his daughter, and we'd had a really nice dinner, and I wanted to just keep the good vibes going. And so I said to them, what are you guys looking forward to most about this coming week? And then that opened up a conversation about the things that we're grateful for and the things we're looking forward to and the way that we're visualizing succeeding over the coming week. So, you know, whether for my boyfriend's daughter, it's stuff with her at school and how she wants to interact with her classmates. And for my boyfriend, it's stuff about how he wants to do things at jiu-jitsu. And for me, it's about, you know, creating more stuff and recording podcasts and making videos. So it puts us on that really positive track. And the other thing that I'm loving doing is just making a practice of putting on shows and movies that are uplifting and that make us feel good. So I said on my gratitude list on Instagram yesterday that I am loving season 4 of The Simpsons. You can now buy entire seasons of The Simpsons on Amazon, direct, like instant video. So we've been watching season 4 of The Simpsons, and it's like that amazing series or season that I watched when I was, I don't know, I must have been like 6 years old or something. And there's an episode where like they go to Duff Gardens, and there's Mr. Plow, and there's all those amazing episodes that I grew up on, and that literally just make my boyfriend and myself laugh our asses off. And it's a really good positive thing to bring into our lives. Don't underestimate the power of bringing in laughter, because it really works. Okay, so now I am gonna give you guys the opportunity to come on live with me. All right, it's not working, but we tried. Okay. All right, well, I don't know. That's so weird. I'm gonna Google it and see if I can find any information. However, I hope that this session on not taking things personally helped for you. I am choosing not to take Instagram Live's crappy technology personally, because I know that it has nothing to do with us, because we're all awesome, clearly. But I don't know, clearly their technology is not perfect yet. So that's okay. But I hope that the session was useful for you, and I would love for you to try implementing some of these techniques over the coming week. So remember just to set the intention of things being positive with your interactions with other people. Remember to maintain your vibration. Remember that nothing feels as good as being in the vortex, and so we need to prioritize our vortex forever. It's the most important thing, right? And that's about it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining, and I will be back with you next week. Have a lovely time. You guys are great. And pick up the 4 Agreements if you haven't already. It's a really, really great book, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. It's beautiful. He goes into every agreement with much more detail, and it's very deep, and it's very beautiful, and it's very easy and simple as well. The best things are, I think. Okay, have a lovely week.